maybe just like consider as a revision. So what are the keys to successful management? First and foremost, good communication. It's very, very important. So it's not just good communication which you require between the dentist and the patient, but also among your colleagues as well. Please remember, you have to have a happy workplace. It helps to reduce your stress. It helps to avoid misunderstandings and to avoid bearing grudges in mind. It goes a long way, you know. So even if you are to move from one place to the other, if as long as you maintain a healthy work environment in the existing one, even when you move on to the next one, you will be able to get a very good letter of recommendation, or the other person will be more willing to hire you if that person gets a better testimonial from your previous workplace. Hold regular staff meetings. This is for two very important points. The first is to continuously update yourself. You need to know what your shortcomings are. You need to know where you can upgrade yourself or where you need to focus on. And the second is, if there are any misunderstandings, it is the best place to clear it up. It's always good to bury the hatchet and to move on to progress forward. Delegate your work. Nobody is Superman. We are all human beings. It's always better for 5 people to work efficiently rather than one person doing all the work on himself or all by himself or herself. Teamwork is very, very important. This is why delegation is important. As long as you have a very supportive team, your work, you don't need to unnecessarily burden yourself, and you can always delegate your work to others. Staff training is very, very important. You need to continuously update yourselves, not just yourself but also the people who are working alongside of you. That deals with not just the dentist but your clinical assistants as well. Last but definitely not the least is the pay. So at the end of the day, we are all working for money. Of course, job satisfaction also, but we are also working for money. So as long as you are getting what you deserve and you're getting it on time, yes, your work environment will be a little happier and a little less stressful. Now, coming to hiring and firing staff, this is a very controversial topic. So let us assume that you are, one of the owners of your dental workplace. How do you hire a particular person? So first of all, you need to identify the need for a vacancy. You actually need to decide uh, if you are the boss or whether you are on the panel of the board members. You need to actually decide whether you actually need to hire somebody. If you need to, who do you think is the most qualified for the job, and which category do you want to place that person in your workplace, whether you need another dentist or whether you need a clinical assistant, and so on and so forth. uh, when you have finally decided or taken the call on when you are going to be hiring someone, you need to give an adequate job description and person specification, so that the people who are going to be applying for the job are very clear on what they're going to be doing and whether they are suitable for the job, whether they should actually take the pains to apply as well. Next, you need to advertise. So this can be through word of mouth, it can be through pamphlets, it can be through the local newspaper, it can be on the news, on the radio, whatever tickles your fancy. Yeah. And then of course, you have to shortlist. So you cannot obviously hire everyone. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. So you have to actually have a shortlist, and from maybe 100 participants, you need to shortlist based on the qualifications. You need to shortlist it to maybe 10, and then of course you have to hold an interview because you need to select the one most appropriate for the job. uh, in an ideal world, in an ideal workplace, the selection of the staff is going to be uh, without doing anyone any favors, or without hiring somebody you already know. So you should be hiring, or you should be enlisting someone solely on the qualifications of that person, and not because you know somebody or because you're doing somebody any favors. However, in the present world, that is very difficult to do, because in the end, we all know that hiring somebody whom you know is much more easier. Yeah. Now, after you hire the person, you have to make sure that the person is aware of the terms and conditions of the employment. So, ideally, maybe you can keep the person on probation for the first 3 months, and then you can decide whether you want to keep the person for longer, or whether you want to give him a yearly contract or 2-year contract, or so on and so forth. Reassess the person you have hired at the end of the trial period. So maybe the probation can be 90 days. That's how it's generally done, or maybe you can keep it just for 30 days, and you reassess at the end of the trial period whether this person is suitable, whether there are certain modifications you want to make to the contract, or whether the person is willing to be more flexible when it comes to additional duties, and so on and so forth. Ideally speaking, there should be no element of discrimination. However, I'm saying it again, it's very difficult to do so, because the dental fraternity is after all a very small fraternity. So you are bound to know someone or the other who is going to be applying for the job. Always put all matters regarding employment in writing. So documentation is very important, especially when it comes to medical legal cases. So if it is in writing, if it is present in writing and both parties have signed, it is leak proof, and it is something which cannot be bent. So it is in black and white. Yes. Firing is a very dirty business, unfortunately, but of course, everyone comes to dealing with it at one point of time in one's life. So it is not very easy, neither practically nor emotionally, and it's not easy for either of the parties. It's not easy for the person who is hiring, and it is not easy for the person who is already hired. So if you are firing, you have to have a solid reason as to why you are going to go ahead with it. You have to investigate the matter thoroughly regarding the performance and whether you are actually going to be making the right decision. You have to notify the employee in writing as to why you are going to be firing the person. It's always better to have it in writing, because you have substantial amount of proof. And at the formal meeting, you have to give the employee an opportunity to give an explanation as to why the person acted that way, because of which you are actually letting the person go. And then after the formal meeting, you decide on what action you're going to take. So you have to give the employee some sort of leeway to give a justification or explanation on why that employee actually behaved the way that happened. And then of course you have to decide on whether you want to go ahead with the firing or whether you want to give a chance. So the different ways of firing, I would personally suggest that you don't be hasty in your decision on firing. You probably give a couple of warnings before you actually instantly dismiss the the employee. So you can give an oral warning. However, the oral warning should be recorded somewhere in writing that you have actually given an oral warning. Written warnings are the best, because you actually have documentation and proof, so that the other person cannot actually sue you. So if after you give a written warning, that means you can give maybe 1 or 2 written warnings, and if there is absolutely no improvement, of course dismissal on grounds are called for, and you cannot be blamed for it. Yes. Instant dismissible is acceptable only where the action is deemed to amount to gross misconduct. So it is only when a grave circumstance has occurred in your workplace that instant dismissal is recommended. So how do you become a successful dentist? You have to establish your practice in a desirable condition and desirable location. So when we think of opening up a clinic, it is always better to open up a clinic where either near at least near a school, a location where there is easy transport, that is a bus stop, or where there is ample parking, or near a place where you can actually get easy conveyance. And you can even open it near old age homes, because it's easy for the old people to actually travel and come to your workplace. You should be able to have good relationship with your patients. This I'm very proud of all of you, because I have never seen any of you actually misbehave with a patient. So that is very, very good. I hope you carry on this practice forward in your in your life when you join your private practice also, because good communications and relationships with your patients go a long way. They tend to be the best advertisements for your practice. Keeping a happy practice team, so make sure that you always encourage and motivate your colleagues. Do not degrade them in front of patients or other people, and make sure that their pay is on time. All this helps to keep a happy practice team. You have to gain reasonable income to maintain reasonable living standard. Do not be too greedy in the beginning. In the initial phases of your private practice, you are bound to face some sort of struggle. Give it at least a minimum of 3 to 5 years. Yeah, after that, of course, if you are genuine and if your work is good, you will be able to maintain much more than reasonable living standards. You should have the ability and facilities to keep abreast with modern dentistry, both educationally and with equipment. So the equipment can come at later stages of life, once you are earning a comfortable income, but you need to constantly update yourself. So you have to attend various CPDs to keep yourself updated. uh, Technically skillful in dental procedures, this of course comes with experience. So the more you practice something, the better you become. Practice makes the person perfect. So you have to gain that through experience. And you have to respect time, not only your own time, but you have to respect the time of others, that is your colleagues and the patients of course as well. You have to make the choice and plan your career accordingly. It is important to love and enjoy your work. So you can only excel in something which you like and which you are passionate about. Uh, so the people whom you are going to be hiring, they have to be able to perform adequate treatment, which is at the final examination level. So they should be able to do your normal restorations, minimal endodontic therapy, perform extractions, oral prophylaxis, and so on and so forth. There are different areas of dentistry which we can gain experiences in. So you can go for your short courses. So after your graduation, you can actually decide on where you want to excel. So if you do not want to invest time and money on your post graduation, you can at least attend various courses which offer you training for maybe a couple of months, or maybe up to 6 months or 1 year, where you can actually gain certificates which show that you are qualified to perform certain treatments. So a lot of people like to take courses in implants or orthodontic treatment, surgical advancements, etc. So you can even endodontic therapy. So you can actually do that, so that your patients also feel much more comfortable in getting treatment done from you. Uh, these are just a few jokes to lighten the mood and to bring in a little humor. We do not wish to scare the patient, yeah, and we do not wish to become the villain at the end of your dental the end of your dental career. So we always try to create a stress-free environment, and we tend to bring in a little bit of humor to make the patient a little more comfortable at the workplace. Because of course, as we all know, not all dentists are going to be brave. They are going to be anxious, and stress does play an important role in your as well. So what are your options after you graduate? So now that you have joined dentistry, you need to know what kind of options you have. You can go into academics, either full-time or part-time. Full-time is generally considered when you practice abroad. Yeah. So you might have to join for academics full-time. When you are in your own country, you can join for part-time academics also, because certain institutions do advocate part-time as well. And then the remaining time you can go into private practice, either in establishing your own clinic, or you can work in a hospital or a clinic under somebody. Yeah. You can carry out research also. You can join various research centers, and you can develop new equipment or new what do you say products for the betterment of also. You can pursue your career in journalism. You can join armed services. You can work for prestigious organizations like WHO, UNICEF, etc. Yeah, because they also do hire dental professionals for their organizations. So if you decide to go for private practice, of course, because the pay is much more lucrative, the benefits you gain are much more, the question is how far away from the place of work you'll be staying, because you need to actually calculate how much you're going to be spending on travel, how much you're going to be spending on on accommodation away from your workplace, how much you're going to be spending on your conveyance, whether you wish to purchase a car, and that adds up to the fuel costs. And if God forbid you have to deal with a dental emergency, how long is it going to take you to actually reach your work? Yeah, if you are going to be entering into an existing practice, so many of you will not be confident enough to set up your own clinic, and you would wish to work under somebody to get the feel of how private practice is in your country, because at the end of the day, the private practice is going to be quite different, in all fairness, from what you are going to be learning at your graduate level, because the dentists who are working outside your dental college, they may not be following, and they most probably will not be following all the things which you follow during your dental college days. So you need to actually learn what is happening in the market right now. So the best experiences is when you actually work for somebody under somebody in a private clinic. Yeah, so you get to know happening out there. And when you are working at somebody else's clinic, please understand that it's not up to you to take all the calls, because that person or the owner of that clinic is actually going to be putting up a great risk in hiring you, because in all fairness, that person may not know anything about you. Yes, and they are actually going to be giving up their patients to you after the probation period. So it is their reputation at stake, their name at stake. So you have to understand, you have to be extremely grateful to them when they are going to be hiring you, and you have to give in your 100%, so that they do not feel that they have gotten the raw deal from the bargain. Yeah, you should be patient, you should understand the situation, you should not try and make it more embarrassing than it already is for them. And the challenge comes to you once you have actually joined, and once the probation period is over, or the notice period, I mean the initial period of the first 3 months is over, and they actually start letting you uh, get the big chunk of patients whom they are treating. So they may start delegating the work to you, so you have to prove your worth, you have to prove that you're going to be a valuable asset team. So of course, your relationship with the patients, not just the patients but also with your colleagues as well, must be pleasing. You must show compassion, you should be gentle, you should never ever ever degrade your boss, because after all, they have hired you out of goodwill, and of course because they do need somebody. But however, you should never ever compete with or degrade with them, or degrade them to your especially to your patients and to your colleagues. You should take advantage of your youth, and you should at least suggest the introduction of the latest and the new recent advances which you would have learned in the colleges when you were studying. So you can actually advocate that to your private practice, wherever you're working. Now, if you decide to go into your own clinic, you decide to set up your own clinic, you need to find your own patients. So how does that happen? Please understand, it does not happen overnight. It takes time. You have to be very very patient. So I would say, give or take a couple of years, you will you may tend to feel a little frustrated if you see the other clinics are working much better. Of course, they would have had a dry spell as well in their beginning. They would have seen their bad days as well. So you have to be mentally prepared for it. So majority of your patients will come either through referral from your family, friends, or if there's an emergency situation which happened very near your clinic, or if somebody has actually some colleague or some doctor has actually referred a patient to you. And of course, the best advertisement is from the patients whom you have already treated. So your patients make the best advertisement. So this is why it is crucial for you to maintain good communication and relations with them. So who all are part of the dental team? This I'm sure you're already aware. You have a senior dentist, you have yourself, you have the junior dentist as well, the dental assistant, you have a hygienist, you have a secretary, and you have the dental technician who does all the lab work. Now, financial management is very, very important. It is something which cannot be neglected, and I would personally suggest that you do your finances at the end of every day. Do not procrastinate or do it at the end of the week, or even worse, at the end of the month. It is always better for you to do your finances at the end of the day, because then you get to know whether you are actually running into profit, loss, or whether you are neutral. That helps you decide on what kind of dental materials you want to invest in, the quality of materials you need to put in the initial stages, because you may not be able to afford the best materials in the initial stages of your career. You can always upgrade as and when your dental practice picks up. Now, marketing is very, very important. uh, Advertising, although we say that it is ethically better for your work to do the advertising on its own, in today's world advertising is very, very important. So you do need to advertise. You can advertise either through pamphlets or through word of mouth, or through the news, the radio, etc. Your first appearances count, so your patients are the best advertisers. It is ethically also very good if only your patients are advertising about you, because that shows that your work is doing the talking for you. So you need to be polite, you need to be on time, you need to make sure that your patient is extremely comfortable in your workplace and you have been able to give them the treatment they deserve. Your staff also can advertise for you, provided your staff is very, very happy with you. So then of course they will talk good about your workplace. And of course, you need to do your research in the market area as well. You need to find out what kind of dealers are there, who provides the best deals for you. If you give them good business, they will obviously talk only good about as well. Yeah. So now coming to clinical governance, this is nothing but auditing. You need to keep reviewing what kind of practice you are doing, and maybe you can hold an audit every 3 months or every 6 months, just to keep yourself updated and to make sure that you're on the right track. Now, continuing professional development, this is now mandatory for all of you. As soon as you go out, from the dental college, you need to make sure that you are well informed about the professional development you need to do on an annual basis. So, as of now, 30 CPD points is mandatory for all of you, and you need to put in 7 mandates. So, all these come in only once you start attending various conferences or various workshops, etc. So please keep in mind, this is mandatory for all of you. It's mandatory for all of us as well. So there's no escaping from it. And of course, the key objective of doing this is so that you keep yourself up to date and you know what's out there in the market and fraternity. Yeah, keep yourself abreast with your colleagues and with international standards. So auditing, like I said before, it has to be done to check the stock, your inventory, whether everything you have is up to date, whether you need to upgrade your dental materials, whether you need to bring in new devices into your dental clinic, whether you yourself are as qualified as you think you are. So this clinical audit also aims to improve the quality of care which you can provide. So you need to communicate with your colleagues and with other dentists as well, so you can identify the areas where change will be made. Evidence-based practice is something which you are performing in your dental college on almost a day-to-day basis. It is nothing but the decisions which are made based on the clinical scenarios which the patient walks in with. So it is done when you actually approach your peers, that is your faculty members, and you actually see what kind of decisions they make depending upon the scenario. So most of it comes from the textbooks, but and the knowledge which they have gained from their education, but also they also have years of experience behind them, so they will know which treatment is most suitable and why. So all this comes with experience. So evidence based practice comes with experience and with years of knowledge and educational backing also. So how do you gain your evidence? It is based on the number of reviews they would have studied, the meta-analysis which they would have done, the cohort studies, case control studies, and you can gain all this information through reputed journals, or reading various articles and textbooks. So then you know what kind of you know treatment will be the best for a particular scenario. Now I hope this is not the case for you at the end of your day-to-day lives in your career. However, this also signifies that you have been very very busy, which is also a very good thing. So if you have a roaring dental practice, this figure is more than perfect, because who wants to be sitting idle, and who doesn't want to be earning the big bucks? Yes. So let us hope that you have a roaring dental practice at the end of the day, and your career only goes forward. So that's it from my side. If you have any doubts, please feel free to comment in the comment section, or get in touch with me. I'm always available. If you have any doubts, please feel free to contact me. So that's it from my side. Take care, stay safe, and see you guys soon.